This is the first chapter of Ralph Ellison's Invisible Man. It's commonly called Battle Royal. Now, Ralph Ellison, much like the previously covered Gene Toomer, but to a less radical extent, he certainly didn't try to pass as as Toomer did. Toomer did pass, but then again, Toomer also lived around the turn of the 20th century during a very intense time. Ellison insisted on being a writer rather than a spokesman for a cause or a representative figure. He preferred to be a writer at large rather than an African American writer, which of course was controversial. Didn't really place him at ease within, with a lot of people in the African American writing community who chose to be representative, like Richard Wright and Amiri Baraka, for instance. He went to Tuskegee Institute, then moved to New York City, where he met Richard Wright, the man who wrote Native Son, also an African American author, who helped him get his start, but they had a falling out due to Ellison's lack of interest in writing social protest literature, as he called it, which is ironic because there absolutely is the element, intentional or no, of social protest in Invisible Man. He wanted to focus more on the individual African American and the communal pressures involved. For Ellison, along with pressures from outside the community, the typical prejudices placed upon him by white society, the dominant white culture, he also acknowledged the reactionary pressures and discriminations within his own community from other African Americans, as he saw it. His style is much more surreal and absurd, and arguably phantasmagoric in places, than Richard Wright. He reads his novel, he only wrote one before he died, Invisible Man. It reads like a bad dream, blurring the line between fantasy and reality, hence the surrealism. Now, on the concept of invisibility, the titular invisibility of Invisible Man, Ellison commented on this himself in his own working notes for the novel, in which he wrote, "The racial conditioning which often makes the white American interpret cultural, physical, or psychological differences as signs of racial inferiority." That was, for Ellison, what invisibility was. And a great formlessness of Negro life, wherein all values are in flux, and where those institutions and patterns of life which mold the white American's personality are missing or not so immediate in their effect, referring to Negro life as a world psychologically apart. That apartness, that perceived second-class citizenry, that minority, is what he's referring to when he talks of invisibility. Now, further considerations for Battle Royal, this first chapter of Invisible Man. The struggle of the individual, a sense of formlessness presented through the narrator, hence invisibility. The confusing double bind, that is, the damned if you do, damned if you don't nature of white prejudice. How exactly does that present itself in Battle Royal? Let's see what you think in your responses on the discussion board. The struggle with the past and with the community. Again, intra-racial pressures as well as interracial pressures. The historical tension between black men and white women, and of course what the dominant white male society has to do with that. And the Gothicism of it. Ellison's Gothic use of the surreal and the absurd to create a nightmarish environment, a nightmarish setting for this very unusual but very powerful and highly influential novel.